Also, chaps, so we'd just like to say jolly congratulations to Tom Robotham. For those who haven't seen the goal, if you do search for it, it is on there. It was an absolutely belting left foot crack straight into the top right-hand corner. And well worthy. Of course, the Wednesdayites voted for it, among others. And, jolly well done, that chap.
Just went to Jet Lord H. I've heard he was actually a defender. Has anyone heard anything else?
No, I'm terribly sorry, old boy. Unfortunately, it's not my forte, the under-18s. Of course, there are a few of the chaps on Twitter that I do follow that tweet some very 18-year-old type tweets.
I can't understand what they're saying. I'll take this one for the team. I'm very interested in under-18s. So
you're just opening the door here, aren't you, Chris? That's already flowing. We don't need setting up, mate.
So, obviously, speaking about down there at the training ground of the under-18s, Mr. Bullen made a return. Craig, have you heard anything about that down there at the training ground?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously there's been whispers going around for a couple of weeks now. Obviously, you can't really say too much. Lee Bullen, he's obviously a massive Wednesday fan and he still likes to get involved. I know he's been doing some scouting for various clubs, but it's definitely been in the pipeline since Dave Jones came in, so it's fantastic to have him back on board, really, I'd say.
Oh, wonderful news, absolutely wonderful news. They're proper, good old-fashioned, give them some oomph type captain, I think, there, chaps.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Whenever I've seen him, because he still gets to a lot of our games, doesn't he, especially away games, whenever I've seen him, he absolutely loves it in amongst the Wednesday fans, and the Wednesday fans all love being around him.
Now, for me, he's probably the only player since Hirsty who has really become, synonymous with Sheffield Wednesday. He's an absolute legend, and long may it continue. If we've got him associated with the club, that leadership, that passion, that can only be good for the players and for the young lads coming through.
No, I think you're dead right. I think there was a point where we were emailing around before. Well, obviously we do. Though it might not seem like it, we do some planning for this show, viewers, and there was. I think was it you that said, Eddie, that like you said, that there's not been a big Sheffield Wednesday icon for a long time, and apart from yourself,
present company accepted.
Of course. And I think it's a great indictment of the Bulldog and the way he played that he's managed to get that cult status within the club. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so jolly well done to Bully, and let's hope we shall see him soon. Now, also another little point in the news, ladies and gents. OZZIE Owl, our wonderful, wonderful mascot, has got himself the acclaim of Mascot of the Year.
And well deserved too.
Oh, absolutely well deserved. Of course, I'm sure all you chaps follow him on Twitter, but we've actually got Mr. Beastie has been out roving away, and he's got himself an exclusive interview with the man himself. So we'll just play that now.
Right, this week I've been allowed out of the shed by Lord Hillsborough, and I'm roving, and I've got a live link with OZZIE Owl, as I've just heard that he's won the prestigious Mascot of the Year award, as voted by the Wednesday Massive. So from high up at Hillsborough in his nest, can you hear me, Ozzy? Come in, Ozzy.
Hoot.
Ah, there you are. You sound a little bit excited.
Hoot.
Ah, calm down a little bit now. Calm down and tell me, how does it feel to win such a prestigious award?
Hoot.
Ah, and who were your closest rival in the race? Do not tell me it was him from Oldham, that Chaddy the Owl. He once offered me out, for suggesting he was the campest mascot I'd ever seen. Tell me he didn't do well.
Hoot, hoot.
Whoa. It's way too lippy. If an owl can be lippy, I said, owl got lips. If you haven't got lips, how do you whistle? I'll tell you something, Ozzy. You're not alone, because my wife told me the other day, after 30 years of marriage, she drops a bombshell on me. She says, you've got no lips. How heartless is that?
Hoot.
Any road. I understand you can't make the lineup for this year's Mascot Gold Cup. Is that due to an injury?
Hoot.
Oh, yeah.
Hoot.
Oh, and which part's that then?
Hoot.
Well, that's absolutely riveting. Thanks for the update, and good luck with the injury.
Hoot.
The Wednesday week, right at the heart of Wednesday news.
Hoot. Fantastic there, Beastie. An exclusive interview with the chap himself, Mr. OZZIE Owl.
I I hope Barney is all right with this, because Ozzie's getting all the plaudits. Barney seems to be sadly left out in this.
Well,
maybe it's those pelvic thrusts that Ozzie does.
It's hilarious. He's been doing that pelvic thrust since I was about 16, and it never ceases to make me laugh. It genuinely makes me laugh every time.
Did anyone see Barney Owl on Saturday?
Barney's not doing well.
Up close, I thought it was Agard, and then up close, it actually looked more like he'd converted to Islam.
I thought exactly the same. It looked like half a burqa.
I don't know if you've seen on Twitter, lads.
When he came over towards us, I thought he'd got a Reggie Blinker wig on.
We should bring them back. They should sell them back in Club Shop. I thought they'd bring them back for Etienne Isaias the other year. I thought they might have done, but I was a bit disappointed with that.
I've got 10,000 Dave Prutton wigs here that are absolutely no bloody good now. My word. I thought that was an investment.
He's not a Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
I mean, to be fair, on Twitter, you look at the great banter between the lads, and I think one of the best ones, I think it was Ryan Lowe, uploaded a picture of David Prutton in his new haircut, and he wrote, "Just sat having lunch with Jimmy Neutron." I don't know how the chant "Jesus" can be modified into Jimmy. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So then, chaps, so all the news I've got at my end, so I shall pass it out to our brand new news hound. Craig, have you got any news for us?
Well, I mean, Mark Beevers is going to be talking to the press this week. Unfortunately, it's been put back 24 hours as Sheffield is currently drowning under about 30 foot of water. But yeah, Mark Beevers will be talking to the press tomorrow. It's been a while since he's spoken to us journalists, so it'd be interesting to see what he says about his future at the club. Obviously, Dave Jones has come in, he's had a bit more of a chance. He's played at left back, but I just want to put it out there really. Do people think he's got a future at the club?
Well, I'll start if you want. I think he's got a future at the club. I hope he's got a future at the club. When you think about when he first burst onto the scene, and every club in the country were interested in him, weren't they? They were talking about him being this bright young talent, and you can't tell me that you lose that overnight. There's got to be more to come from lad, and I'm so pleased to see him back inside.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more, Beastie. I think if we look at those lads, and Tommy Spurr's gone to Doncaster, that back four has been split up, but they lost so much confidence being part of a team that weren't allowed to play as much as anything else, but a losing team. They lost that confidence, they lost that sort of euphoria of youth, and I think Beeves, he's got flashes of that still. Even at left back, that's nowhere near his favoured position, but he puts in a shift, and he's got that basic talent, he's got that basic vision, he understands the game. I think we have to keep him. Even if he's not getting into the first team straight away, he's got to be in our thoughts, because for the next 5-10 years, he could be a real servant for this club. Yeah,
well, I must say, chaps, I do speak to one or two fans out on Twitter. Of course, Mr. Beevers spent a bit of time at MK Dons over the season, and the Dons fans were very impressed with the chap. They didn't want him to leave.
I think sending him to a team like MK Dons, which was clearly right from the off going to be one of our main contenders for promotion, was a bit of a lack of foresight from Mr. Megson at the time. I think we made a bit of a faux pas there. And in the same respect, it could have been the same sort of mistake sending Clinton Morrison to Brentford. I mean, what if we went there and scored a hatful and they were breathing down our necks? Do you know what I mean? I think there's a few decisions there that leave me a little bit bewildered. But on the subject of Mark Beevers, I think when I saw them, like you say, they had that exuberance of youth between him, Spur, and then there was Grant in there as well. I think the weak link in that defensive lineup is the one that's still with us the most, who is Lewis Buxton. I don't know if I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here, but
you definitely are.
I've never really been a fan of him. I find that every time you see the goals live, or you see them on telly, or wherever you get to see the game, I think there's a lot of him scrambling back into position or being caught out of position. Or I appreciate that early part of this season he had a bit of a rich vein of form, but for me it was a long time coming.
Well, for me, Lewis Buxton's been one of our most consistent performers over the last 2 seasons. I absolutely love him, and I think he's the most dependable of all of our defenders. And it's great to see him back now he's fully fit.
I always think Lewis Buxton is one of those players again that, much like Chris Lyons, doesn't get the praise that's due him. I always think he does a fantastic job, but obviously poor old Fudge disagrees.
I feel like a bit on my own. So if you see somebody at Brentford screaming at Lewis Buxton on his own, then that's just going to be me.
I think because Buxton's so consistent, he actually gets more stick when he doesn't have a good game. I think it stands out more if Buxton has a bad game because we're so used to him being good.
I always used to say, I always said the same about Ian Nolan. He was always my closet favourite player for years.
Oh, well, that explains everything then, Fudge.
Nothing.
So, have we any more news to crack on with?
Yeah, I think we had a great one today. That Giles Coke, he's one half of the potential Sheffield Wednesday midfield duo Coke Lines. I think he's been on loan obviously at Bury this year, and the manager Richie Barker. I don't know what to make of this. He says that. Other teams are sniffing at Giles Coke, and other teams are now stand up to take notice. Now, I don't know if you remember, a good 3 or 4 months ago, I think it was, that Giles Coke got fouled in the penalty box for Bury, and there was a fight between him and the captain, who's a designated penalty taker. Did you see this?
I certainly did.
I did, yeah.
And I think this might be Richie Barker trying to kind of let the lad down gently. Do you know what I mean?
But to tell you the truth, chaps, I mean, not for footballing reasons, but Mr. Coke doesn't seem to like me. He's blocked me on Twitter.
Seriously?
Seriously, I made...
Say about him, old age.
I made a rather... Well, it seems that the lad's funny bone is rather out of kilter. I made a little jape about him needing some water thrown on him to cool him down. It didn't take well to it.
I remember that argument. It all got very, very nasty.
I tell you what, Lord H, you're not missing out, mate. All he seems to do is tweet about his kids who are Arsenal fans.
I'm not too worried about it all, boy. I'm not too worried about it all. But so obviously going back to if we want him back at the Wednesdays and if we think he can do a job. I mean, he has scored for Bury, I do believe, on 1 or 2 occasions. He's also scored...
He's on goal at the weekend.
Yeah,
well, what happened to that player that we first signed? Do you remember that when we first started that season, we went down?
That first was out of this world, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he just seemed to go missing.
I think he started to believe his own publicity, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that must have been it. He's yeah. But then I think JJ at some point then took over the reins, didn't he? He went through a scoring patch, got about 4 in 4, and then it was Marcus Tudguy got 6 in 7. But we still managed to go down because all we did was the person scoring every week.
Oh, of course, chaps. So, like I said, shall we see him back? Do you think, Beastie? Do you think we'll see him back?
No, I don't. I don't think he's good enough. Even if he came back to sit on the bench. I just don't see him getting a game, do you? Does anybody actually think he could replace anybody in the current squad that we've got now?
He can't hack it in the Championship, and that's where we're going to be next season, so it doesn't matter.
I think he could end up in the Premier, to be honest. The Blue Square Premier.
Right then, gents, any more news? Any more Owls news that we need to get out there?
Oh, I've got a right plug for everyone in my capacity as Wednesday night director. Come Saturday, I know a few of you are going to be down there. Well, we've got a selection of Wednesday night directors, Wednesday night members, and none other than Wednesday legend David Hirsty himself. They're going to be cycling back over 4 days, leaving Brentford at full time, or a few minutes after full time, and arriving back in Sheffield at Bluebell Wood Children's Hospice on Tuesday. So it's like 200 miles of cycling, and if you've seen any of the Wednesday night directors, well, you know, we're not physical specimens, but they're going to be doing their best to cycle about 50 miles a day. So if you get to wednesdayight.com/B2BW, that's Brentford to Bluebell Wood, they're taking donations. So it's a very good cause. It's going to a children's hospice. They look after sick kids and their families, and yeah, we're hoping to raise an awful lot. We're already above £1,000, so everyone listening, if you get your hands in your pockets, then it'll make it a real difference there.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well done, Eddie.
So hang on, David Hurst is cycling all that way.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. He's obviously the total athlete, because while the rest of them have been, cycling uphill and down Dale, up into the Peak, round out into Lincolnshire and all that. Last week I spoke to Hirsty, and apparently he's pumped up one of his tyres. That's the... But there you go. He's David Hirst. He does what he wants.
He is David Hirst. He does what he wants. That's fine by me.
There's a gentleman that has just been taking his son down to for trials at Sheffield Wednesday that I know, and he was speaking to Hirsty and asked him why on earth Hirsty had two coats on. It turns out he didn't.